I did it again. It's 100% my fault this time. Oh, mate. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. So I did it again, and it was my fault this time. It was 100% my fault this time. I recorded another 25-minute video, and I didn't even get as far as loading it into the editing software this time. These Blue Yeti microphones have a little button right here, and I picked up my microphone, and I must have clicked it, right? Because it was flashing. If it's flashing, it means it's on mute. And when I got to the end of the video, I just had like a moment where I was like, obviously I had this audio issue the other day. Let's just check that wasn't the reason. I looked around and lo and behold, the button was flashing, and I recorded the whole video. And again, I had no audio. So that's twice. The first time, I'm not sure because I didn't catch that last time. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe I accidentally hit the button twice. I don't know. This time it was absolutely my own fault. So I know that will not happen again. But it's just annoying, isn't it? I had some banging points. It's a shame you guys will never see that video because it was stellar, amazing. If you guys enjoy the content, please do me the distinct honour of hitting the algorithmical buttons. Please like, share and subscribe to the video and my channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. So it's transfer deadline day. Sort of. It is the last of the special 10-day transfer window that was opened specifically for clubs who are competing in the upcoming Club World Cup. Interestingly enough, though, so for the Prem, right, it's Chelsea and Man City because we won the Champions League in that 4-year period when they announced all of the, who was going to be competing in it. But other teams have been making a real use of this window too, right? And you would have to argue maybe even more than Chelsea have, considering the fact that we're in this competition. Liverpool signing Kirkes and Frimpong and Wirtz, and Arsenal getting Zubamendi in, and they signed Kepa, and and obviously City, who are competing in the competition as well, signed Reinders, and they've just brought in Rayan Cherki, which for them looks like a really exciting player. And they've just bought Marcus Bettinelli. I recently released a 4-part series on my channel called Keep, Loan or Sell, where I went through the whole Chelsea first team and talked about what I think we should do with them. When it got to the aforementioned Marcus Bettinelli, I was an advocate of keeping him, right? Because Marcus Bettinelli is that kind of excellent third choice keeper profile, right? We've had Mark Schwarzer and Willy Caballero and loads of guys like that who, basically hang around the squad, get paid to train. They're vibes guys. They're normally a bit older. You're not seeing them compete for the team, but it's an important part of the squad structure, right? Having that kind of experienced goalkeeper there to train with the team, and like I say, a vibes guy. So in my video I said that I think we should have kept Marcus Bettinelli because I don't see the value in buying another third keeper at this point. But City have just released Scott Carson, who was their third choice goalkeeper, and they swooped in almost instantly to take Marcus Bettinelli off our hands. So although he never really did much for us, he was with us for a long time. I don't wish him ill will at all. Do you know what I mean? He performed his role admirably. I'm only a little bit annoyed that we might now actually have to spend some money to get someone else into that role, because it is not something that you see any of the other keepers that we've got being happy to do, right? It's before we even talk about Maignan, we look at the fact we've got Sanchez, Jorgensen and Petrovic on the books, and at the moment Penders is obviously around, but he's not gonna be in the first team, is he? We'll probably try and get him a loan, I would have thought, and maybe to Strasbourg to replace the incoming Petrovic. But yeah, you got to think one of Petrovic, Sanchez or Jorgensen are not going to be happy to be the Marcus Bettinelli of our team. They're all in their 20s. They all want to play first team football. And yeah, I would I would definitely lean towards the likes of Sanchez being sold, for instance, rather than be like, I'll be your third choice goalkeeper, why not? Just while we're on the goalkeeper stuff, we have also released another goalkeeper that was in our first team squad, not like actually, in contention to play. But yesterday was the day that all the Premier League teams announced the list of players they're releasing that at the end of their contracts and the players that they are retaining. Our list was quite short this year, which was refreshing because normally you get these big long lists of academy players whose dreams have been squashed. But this year there was only 4 players. They were all academy players, and one of which was goalkeeper Lucas Bergstrom, who was on the Chelsea website, for instance, as being part of our first team this year. He was obviously never really in contention for playing either. He's moved on. That is just some sort of indication that the goalkeeping situation is starting to resolve itself, right? But anyway, back to where we were. So, you know, a lot of other teams have used this window to strengthen, and unfortunately, although we're actually competing in this competition that this window was specifically designed for, it doesn't really look like we're not diving in to make things happen like a lot of these other clubs have. We have signed Liam Delap. That's great. I'm super, super keen for Liam Delap to get on board. You know, I think that could be a real game changer. We've just signed, as of yesterday, Mamadou Sarr, a 19-year-old centre-back from our sister club at Strasbourg. He had a breakout season for Strasbourg and helped them with their European qualification. I can't remember if that was Europa or Conference League. They didn't quite hit the Champions League. I know that they were fighting for that at some point, but they definitely got some sort of European football, and 19-year-old Mamadou Sarr was a big part of that. So we've talked a bit about Delap already, and we all kind of know the score with that. So let's talk a little bit about Sarr. So Sarr was 19 years old, came into the Strasbourg team, and has done really, really, really well. Was a mainstay in that team. So I think, based on the analysis of the situation, that we are probably going to bring him in to the squad. He's eligible to play for the Club World Cup, by the way. That's so we might see him in a week's time. But yes, he's 19, so I don't think he's come in to take that spot as Levi Colwell's partner, for instance. I think he'll come in as a supplementary Josh Achiempong kind of role, which is weird because we've still got Josh Achiempong, but whatever. The reason I don't think we'll loan him, I don't think we'll loan him out, and the reason for that is because he's 19 years old and he's just spent a whole season in a first team and has done really well for the club that he's played for. And if you were talking about getting him out to get him more experience before you think about selling him or integrating him into the team, surely you just leave him at Strasbourg because they've got some sort of European football coming next season. He's already part of the squad with a good manager and, a vibes, a set of vibes that's going really well. So it doesn't make a huge amount of sense unless it is literally, a financial thing where, they're looking at balancing books across both clubs and we bring him in over here and then we send him back out over there. But as he's eligible for the Club World Cup, and normally when we do that kind of thing, we loan them straight back, don't we? Giovanni Quenda, for instance. We bought Giovanni Quenda from Sporting and then instantly loaned him back. That's normally what happens. So you would have to ascertain from the available information that we're probably going to give him a shot in the first team. I could be wrong. By all means, maybe that's not what's going to happen, but it just doesn't seem to make sense to buy him, to loan him out when he was already at a good club and he was playing a lot for that club. Do you know what I mean? He could have just kind of carried on. For instance, Andre Santos, we sent Andre Santos out on loan to Strasbourg for a year and then we left him there for the other year because he was doing well. So you would have thought, based on that, maybe Mamadou Sarr does come in to try and get some minutes in the first team. So that's the two players we have signed. As for the two players that we haven't signed yet, more rumblings. I say rumblings, it's actually more than rumblings at this point. We are in the throes of the negotiation for Mike Maignan, the 29-year-old AC Milan goalkeeper and French first team goalkeeper, by the way. He wants to come to Chelsea, right? He seems to be agitating for that move. AC Milan have just appointed Allegri as their new manager. Supposedly, a conversation was had where Allegri was like, hey man, stick around, things are going to get interesting. And Maignan was like, no, I would like to go to Chelsea. So AC Milan are in a bit of a sticky situation with this at the moment because we are lowballing them for him. They wanted 30 million euros, 25 million pounds, which when you consider if Maignan's better than Sanchez, then that's a bargain, isn't it? When you think about it, But AC Milan are being lowballed by us. We don't want to pay 25 mil for him. I think 18 mil is the most recent bid, which is close to it. Do you know what I mean? But if they don't sell him and they throw their toys out the pram and they put their foot down and say, no, you're staying with us for the next year, then he can just leave on a free because he's only got a year left on his contract. His contract talks have already stalled because of all this Chelsea noise. Do you know what I mean? He's maybe it wasn't an amazing season for AC Milan last year. Maybe he feels ready for a new challenge, being that he's also France's #1 goalkeeper. Maybe there's a couple of other guys hanging around that spot and he's like, I need to go and play Champions League football because AC Milan missed out on that. And maybe he's squarely got the World Cup in his sights, right? And you got to think moving to Chelsea, playing in the Champions League, being a first teamer for a big club like that with those opportunities would, potentially see that option of him continuing as the France number one. So yeah, sticky for AC Milan. What do they do? I think they should just sell him to us. Obviously, I think that because I'm a Chelsea fan and I am desperate to see our goalkeeping situation start to improve. But from AC Milan's point of view, maybe it's not enough money, and in terms of thinking getting a replacement right now, do you know what I mean? Maybe for them, they haven't got someone who they're ready to go for. I mean, look at what we did sometimes. Do you know what I mean? We lost Courtois in a similar kind, not exactly the same, but a similar kind of situation. We lost Courtois and ended up with Kepa Arrizabalaga for 7 years on 170 grand a week. He was rubbish, and we are only just getting rid of him now. So, no one likes a panic buy, right? No one likes a panic buy. So it's a tough one. That this of the two deals that we're going to talk about today does seem the one that is the most likely to happen today. You got to think there's only so many negotiating resources, right? And it does seem that because most of the news seems to be gravitating towards the Mike Maignan deal, it does feel like that's the one that's probably more likely to happen. So the other deal, Jamie Gittins. So there's a little bit more context than I've initially mentioned about the Jamie Gittins deal. I've just kind of been vibing it out and talking about how I feel about him, but we'll dive into a little bit more of the nuance of the situation with Jamie Gittins. Jamie Gittins, again, seems like he is quite happy to move to Chelsea. We are, again, lowballing the club for they want more money and we want to pay them less than that. But there's a little bit more to it with this one. So Jamie Gittins, the Jamie Gittins we want is not the Jamie Gittins of the last season, right? With Niko Kovac, I think it is, their current manager. The Jamie Gittins we want is the Jamie Gittins from the season before, where he scored loads of goals and looked like a really shiny, promising, direct attacky player that is the kind of guy we would like to see on our left wing. Jamie Gittins did not, I think he scored no goals last season, and maybe it's only a couple of assists, if that. So he didn't have an amazing season last season. So you can understand from a negotiating point of view from Chelsea's side why we're not desperate to go in and give him that release clause when, based on recent form, with their recent manager in their recent season, things haven't gone amazingly well for him. Dortmund obviously maintained that despite his less than stellar recent season, his overall performance for the club would indicate that he's worth the money. So although it's annoying, right, it is irritating, isn't it, when we're just like, we don't, we'll never just go in and buy a player unless it's Mykhailo Mudryk and we'll spend 70 mil on him. But, we are trying to get him for a little bit cheaper. And I guess, if we can pull it off, that would be great. Do you know what I mean? If we get Jamie Gittins for 35 mil, and he is at least better than Sancho, then yeah, wicked. That's an absolute steal. So yeah, it's annoying, isn't it? It's, you want your club sometime to just go in and drop that extra little bit of cash. It seems like a little bit of cash. I guess 15 million is quite a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, isn't it? But Dortmund rejected the first bids, which was 25 mil, I think, from our point, 30 million euros, 25 million pounds, and a 10% sell-on fee clause thing. They rejected that, and we've gone back in with a higher bid. I think we're looking at paying 35 million pounds for him. The pounds and euros thing always gets mixed up over the various news reports that you see. So in and around 30 to 35 million pounds. That seems like a good deal for Jamie Gittins. I would hope that we have analysed the fact, we wouldn't be in for him at all, would we, if it was going to be a similar situation with what he's got now. Enzo Maresca has obviously okayed this and been like, yes, I like the player that he had, that he was when he was with that other manager. Maybe we see more parallels between Maresca and the previous manager to the current manager that's at Borussia Dortmund. So I'm not necessarily worried about this being we buy Jamie Gittins and he comes in and stinks the joint out and plays exactly like he did last season, because I think that we wouldn't be looking at him at all unless we had some sort of, not concrete, but we were reasonably confident that the kind of situation he's going to find himself in is similar to the one in which he performed really well before. So guys, we're going to wrap it up there for today. I have a sneaking suspicion I will drop another video later today because It's transfer deadline day. Woo! It's kind of transfer deadline day, isn't it? The little one, at least. So yeah, when more news inevitably drops, because we're either going to find out that these deals did or didn't go through, and then we'll make some little comments on that, won't we? Maybe some other shock deals happened, like for instance, Mamadou Sarr kind of came out of nowhere. Maybe there's something like that bubbling under the surface, right? And that is it for today. So thank you very much, guys. I have been Matt. This has been the Stamford Sink. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to catch up with you soon. Peace.